most people think, oh, well, it's an old Gibson, it's an old Gibson. Well, you know something? There's a huge difference. You can see it's just got the strap style bridge, just a rectangular bridge. One of the good things about this particular guitar is you can see it's in absolutely phenomenal condition. There's barely a mark on it, and the reason there's barely a mark on it is because the action was so high it was virtually unplayable, so nobody bothered playing it. I'm going to remove the plastic bridge and make a rosewood replacement, and we'll set this thing up. I mean, there's hardly any fret wear. I mean, this thing will be like the day it rolled off the assembly line, except it will have a real rosewood bridge and a proper saddle, intonated saddle. And of course, this 46 Gibson guitar doesn't have the banner on it, but it's got the script, the 40's script. This one has a ivory nut, which was, you know, common at the time. Brazilian rosewood fingerboard. They both have Brazilian rosewood fingerboards, and it's got that smaller bridge. It does have a couple of fasteners in the bridge under those pearl dots. This one actually needed quite a bit of work. The back was split in multiple places. I'm still working on this one, but I will post videos as I move along and give you guys a play-by-play. There was this metal strip in the floor of the slot, and then this ceramic adjustable bridge that goes into, they're almost like brake fittings, they're sunk into the top. Those will stay. I'm not going to take those out, but yeah, I'll remove this plastic bridge and you can get a look. You won't believe your eyes. Alright, we're heating this up. We've got a cover over the top of the guitar, obviously. Just heating that plastic up. This is not like heating up wood, so we can slip it off cleanly. And there you have it, folks. These are all the gadgets and fasteners and injection molded plastic bridge. Little sheet metal screws to kind of hold it in place. I've actually done quite a few of these things over the years. I thought, you know something, I'm not letting this one go by without documenting it. You had to see this to believe it. I mean, the only sort of saving grace in this whole scenario is because the guitar was so horrible to play, it's in mint condition. When this thing is done, it'll be the first time this guy has ever heard the real voice of this instrument. So the next step will be to clean up that footprint and carefully scrape away the lacquer and build a solid rosewood bridge from scratch. The only thing that I'm going to use that plastic bridge for will be lining up the bridge pin holes in the new bridge. Alright, I wanted to show what my tolerance is. Yeah, the cameras pick it up. You can see here that there's not a lot of protrusion here. The idea is I will remove the neck on this to run a mill file along the edge and flush those frets with the edge of the rosewood before I reinstall the binding. So you can see that, yeah, those frets came out pretty clean. It's an old fingerboard, right? I just thought before I put those last two frets in I would show you that. This is the brass nut blank that I just made from brass stock. And that will just press fit in to, just look at the cross-sectional profile there, into that slot. So the binding actually goes on either side of that. John actually prefers to have brass for the nut as opposed to plastic or bone. And that's it. So I'm just getting ready to flush level those frets and reinstall the binding. See in that last clip that I got those out nice and clean, very little tear out, very little chipping, you know, which is always a risk when you're pulling frets out of an old fingerboard. As you can see, I set up on the tech deck, that pivoting neck assembly finds its own center, and we just tap those in with a maple dowel and a 1-pound hammer. The tech deck itself, the whole workstation really acts as a huge shock absorber. It's 42 pounds. All the tension of driving the fret in with the hammer and the maple dowel is basically absorbed and dissipated by the workstation itself. Because there was next to no protrusion at all, now these are dead flush, so I did not disrupt that outside edge of the frets. Just a little bit of resistance there. There we go. So I'm just running along that ledge, flush those frets right up. Now we're ready to reinstall the binding. And that's it. Just doing the final check on that brass nut blank. I want to make sure it's not too long to actually push the binding off. So I've got it. Yeah, that's a good press fit, and it's flushed right up. So now we're ready to put that binding on. Here's another little tech deck maneuver for all you tech deckers out there. I just slipped the leather pad out of the way. It's velcroed to the platform, and then I've got those spring clamps and just hold the neck up against the padded rail to get it in the best position for reinstalling this binding. This is basically a stack of 5 straight edges that I made up for all the students. And what's the price sticker on there? $12.99. Okay, so for 13 bucks they got 5 straight edges. All the straight edges they'll ever need. They each got their own kind of stack of straight edges. All the straight edges they'll ever need for doing any type of fretwork, fingerboard leveling, etc., etc. So you can see by the cross-sectional profile, this is pretty thick. These are definitely more than strong enough to, to hold true for leveling and checking your frets, so on and so forth. I have a $200 Starrett machinist rule stainless steel that's basically collected dust for the last 20 years because I've been using these guys.